So today we're doing a deep dive into Ecclesiastes. It's a fascinating, sometimes really jarring book. Our source is the text itself, the words of someone called the teacher, who's identified as a son of David, a king there in Jerusalem. And our mission, for you listening, is to explore this work. It doesn't shy away from the big stuff, existence, work, purpose. We're going to unpack his observations, which feel surprisingly modern, actually, and the insights that still resonate. From that famous line, everything is meaningless, all the way to his final thoughts.
And it's really key to get where he's coming from. This isn't some disconnected philosopher. He was a king. He says he specifically devoted himself to study, to explore everything, all that is done under heaven. So he's speaking from a place of, well, incredible power, vast experience. He'd seen it all, really.
Okay, so let's unpack this.
Yeah.
How does he start building this case? Because, wow, he comes out swinging. Right at the beginning. Utterly meaningless. Everything is meaningless. What's he seeing that makes him say that?
Well, that word meaningless in Hebrew, it's hevel. And hevel is richer than just pointless. It literally means vapor, like a breath, something fleeting, you can't grasp it. He starts by looking at nature's cycles. They just keep going.
Yeah.
Generations come and go. The earth stays. The sun rises, sets, rushes back.
Yeah.
The wind blows around and around. Streams flow to the sea, but the sea's never full, and the water cycle repeats. He sees this endless, repetitive loop.
It's kind of futility.
Exactly. A sense of hevel. He says, what has been will be again. There is nothing new under the sun. Like the universe is just doing its thing, totally indifferent to us.
That is a stark image. And it wasn't just nature, was it? He went on this intense personal quest for wisdom. He says, look, I have grown and increased in wisdom more than anyone before me. He really dove deep into knowledge. What do you think he hoped to find there, and what did he actually find?
Well, you expect wisdom to bring peace, right? Clarity. But his first discovery was, well, the exact opposite. He says, with much wisdom comes much sorrow. The more knowledge, the more grief.
Wow. So knowing more made things worse.
In a way, yeah. Even gathering all that understanding felt like a chasing after the wind. Just another form of hevel. It didn't bring lasting satisfaction. If anything, it added to his burdens.
It sounds a bit like our information age sometimes. Knowing more about everything doesn't always make you feel better.
It's a surprisingly modern feeling, isn't it?
So, okay, wisdom didn't give him the ultimate answer. It felt like chasing wind. Where does a king go from there? He didn't just stop.
No, he pivoted. His next big experiment was basically pleasure, wealth. Huge projects, he lists them. Building houses, planting vineyards, creating amazing gardens and parks.
Right.
Amassing silver and gold, treasures from other kingdoms, getting singers, a harem. He says, I denied myself nothing my eyes desired. He went for it all.
Sounds like the ultimate ancient bucket list. He tried absolutely everything.
He really did. Total immersion in earthly pursuits. But his conclusion after all that, it's incredibly blunt. Yet when I surveyed all that my hands had done, everything was meaningless, a chasing after the wind. Nothing was gained under the sun.
Under the sun. That phrase keeps popping up. What's the significance there?
It's crucial. It's his term for looking at life purely from an earthly, human perspective without necessarily factoring in the divine or the eternal. He did admit wisdom is better than foolishness, like light is better than dark. But then he hits you with the wise person and the fool. They both die. They both get forgotten eventually. So if that's the end result for everyone, then even wisdom in the long run feels like hevel, meaningless.
It makes you think about our own pursuits, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The next job, the next thing we buy. Is that also just chasing wind?
It's a challenging thought he leaves us with.
Okay, so from that very personal, intense search, he kind of zooms out a bit. He gives us that really famous passage. There is a time for everything and a season for every activity under heaven.
Yes.
A time to be born and a time to die. Weep and laugh. War and peace. How does that fit with the bleakness we've just heard?
It's a really interesting shift, or maybe a layer. Even amid all the futility he sees under the sun, he does recognize this kind of divine order, a beauty in the timing of things. He says God has made everything beautiful in its time.
Ah, okay. So there's beauty in the rhythm.
Yes, but then he adds the limitation. We humans cannot fathom what God has done from beginning to end. We see the patterns, the seasons of life, but the ultimate why from our limited viewpoint, it's still out of reach. The timing might be perfect, but we don't get the full picture.
And this leads him to think about our own existence, our mortality. He makes that really stark comparison, doesn't he? Man's fate is like that of the animals. The same fate awaits them both.
As one dies, so dies the other. All have the same breath. It's brutal honesty about death being the great leveler. We all return to dust.
He even asks that question.
Yeah, that haunting question. Who knows if the spirit of man rises upward and if the spirit of the animal goes down into the earth? From that purely under the sun viewpoint, facing death makes everything seem like hevel. It's humbling. All are striving, and we end up like any other creature.
Okay, but here's something that seems different. Amidst all this talk of meaninglessness, he keeps coming back to this piece of advice. It pops up again and again.
Right.
I know that there is nothing better
Yeah.
than to be happy and do good while they live.
Right.
That everyone may eat and drink and find satisfaction in all his toil. This is the gift of God. How does that square with everything else? It feels almost contradictory.
That's where it gets really fascinating. I don't think it's a contradiction. It's more like um, a profound strategy for living within that reality of hevel.
Okay.
It's like he's saying, look, the grand cosmic meaning might be elusive under the sun, but there's real value, maybe even divinely given value, in enjoying the simple present things, your food, your drink, satisfaction in your work.
So enjoy the moment.
Exactly. Enjoy the moment. Appreciate the small gifts. He calls them a gift of God. It's a call to embrace present joy and not be totally paralyzed by the huge existential questions you can't answer. If you can't control the ultimate outcome, maybe you can control your response right now.
That makes sense. So beyond his own life, he also looked at society, right? What did he see there? He talks about oppression, injustice under the sun.
Yeah, he didn't pull any punches there either. He saw the tears of the oppressed, and they had no comforter. Power was on the side of the oppressors. It's
Yeah.
a raw look at human cruelty.
He even says something shocking like, the dead are happier.
He does. He says, the dead are happier than the living, and worse still, better than both is he who has not yet been. That's how bleak his assessment of earthly injustice could be.
Wow. And what about work and achievement in society?
He saw that so much of it, all labor and all achievement, actually springs from man's envy of his neighbor. Another form of hevel, just chasing status because someone else has it.
That sounds familiar.
Doesn't it? And he contrasts that with wisdom. Better one handful with tranquility than two handfuls with toil and chasing after the wind. It's a call for contentment, really, instead of that exhausting, envious striving.
But he wasn't entirely negative about human interaction, was he? He talks about connection.
No, definitely not. That's another key piece of practical advice. He says, two are better than one because they have a good return for their work.
Right. Helping each other up, keeping warm, defending each other.
Exactly. There's practical benefits. And then that famous line about a cord of three strands is not quickly broken, suggesting strong bonds, maybe even including God, offer real strength.
So community offers something tangible against the futility.
It seems that way. It's one of the few things he points to that provides a genuinely good return and real comfort under the sun. Maybe grand meaning is hard to find, but shared experience, helping each other, that's solid.
He also had some strong words about wealth, didn't he?
Oh, absolutely. Very direct. Whoever loves money never has money enough. Whoever loves wealth is never satisfied with his income. This, too, is meaningless. It reads like an ancient warning against consumerism.
Yeah, it really does.
And he explains why. He observes that as goods increase, so do those who consume them. More stuff often just means more worries, more people depending on you.
Sure.
And wealth can be hoarded only to harm the owner, or it can just be lost in some misfortune, leaving nothing for your kids. And then the ultimate truth bomb. You come into the world naked, you leave naked, you can't take any of it with you.
So all that striving for wealth is ultimately pointless in the end.
From that under the sun perspective, yes, it's hevel, a chasing after wind.
So if wealth, pleasure, even wisdom feel like chasing wind, what does he suggest? Humility, discernment.
Yes, there's advice like, don't be over-righteous, neither be over-wise, sort of don't go to extremes. And he brings in fear God as a way to navigate between those extremes.
Why fear God?
Well, it connects back to his admission that real wisdom is far off and most profound. Who can discover it? He's acknowledging human limits. So fear God seems to imply a kind of reverent humility, recognizing there's something bigger than your own understanding and acting accordingly. Don't pretend you have all the answers.
Okay, so despite all the meaningless talk, the hevel, he does give this really strong push towards living fully, doesn't he?
Yes, it's powerful.
Yeah.
Go eat your food with gladness and drink your wine with a joyful heart, for it is now that God favors what you do. Enjoy life now.
And enjoy it with loved ones. He says, enjoy life with your wife, whom you love, all the days of this meaningless life. He uses that word meaningless right next to enjoy life.
It's that fascinating pivot again. Acknowledge the hevel, the fleeting nature of it all, but because it's fleeting, embrace the present joy. Find meaning not in permanence, but in the immediate, God-given blessings.
And then the kicker. Whatever your hand finds to do it with all your might.
For in the grave, where you're going, there is neither working, nor planning, nor knowledge, nor wisdom. That's the urgency. Do it now. Live now, work now, because later is too late. It's a really radical call to embrace the present moment fully.
And just when you think maybe you can plan your way to a good life, he throws in that curveball about randomness.
Right. The race is not to the swift or the battle to the strong, but time and chance happen to them all. Life is unpredictable.
And no man knows when his hour will come.
Exactly. It reinforces that you can't control everything. Fortune is fickle, which, he implies, is another reason not to wait for perfect conditions. Cast your bread upon the waters. Act now. Don't be paralyzed by uncertainty, because uncertainty is guaranteed.
And then he brings it all towards the end with that incredibly vivid, almost painful description of old age.
Yeah, those metaphors are so powerful. The keepers of the house tremble, shaking hands. The strong men stoop, a bent back. Those looking through the windows grow dim, failing eyesight. It's a stark picture of our physical decline.
It really brings home the fragility of life.
It does, and all these images of decay lead him right back, almost full circle, to his main theme, hammering it home one last time. Meaningless. Meaningless, says the teacher. Everything is meaningless. He ends right where he started, underlining the hevel of it all.
Wow. Okay, so we've followed the teacher on this incredible journey. Through the cycles of nature, the limits of wisdom, the emptiness of chasing pleasure and wealth, we've heard that constant refrain, everything is meaningless, a chasing after the wind.
Yeah, it's a heavy perspective. But importantly, scattered throughout that, we found real practical advice, didn't we? Enjoy the simple gifts: food, drink, work. Value companionship. Act decisively even though life is uncertain. Seize the day, basically, because the end is coming for everyone.
He doesn't just leave you in despair.
No, there's a pragmatic path he offers for navigating this fleeting life.
So after all that, after testing everything under the sun, what's the final takeaway for you listening? He gives his ultimate conclusion, what he calls the whole duty of man.
And it feels like a definite shift, doesn't it? He says, fear God and keep his commandments.
How does that fit? After all the meaningless.
Well, it seems to lift the perspective above the under-the-sun view. It moves from the purely earthly and temporary to something higher, maybe eternal. He follows it up by saying God will bring every deed into judgment, whether it is good or evil.
So there's an ultimate accountability.
That's what it suggests. That maybe while life feels like hevel from our limited viewpoint, our actions have meaning in a larger divine context. It reframes everything. The fleeting nature of life doesn't negate responsibility, maybe it heightens it.
So he leaves us with this huge paradox, really. How do you live fully, find joy, find purpose in your work every day, while holding on to this deep awareness that, from one perspective, everything is meaningless, and your end is the same as everyone else's? What does it actually mean for you today to fear God and keep his commandments within your own fleeting life under the sun?
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep getting well informed.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.